All right, the reason I'm making this video is I'm going to show people who are interested in the Wyvern game, as I adjust my phone here, how to take starter decks like these. There's 12 starter decks here, and booster packs. We would take 3 booster packs, and each person would take 3 starter decks and 3 booster packs. You open them up, and you make a deck. And then we have a little tournament. We're hoping we have 4 people. We just need to get this. We need to get all 4 together for an evening to do this. The deck size that we're going to want to build is a minimum of 20 cards in our Dragon Lair. That's this deck, which features dragons and terrains. And we want at least 50 cards in our Treasure Hoard, which consists of action cards, battle action cards, dragon slayers. We have reaction cards right here, and then we have treasures. So those are the types of cards in your Treasure Hoard deck. We want a minimum 50 card deck for this. And when you take 3 starter decks and 3 booster packs, it's you should be able to build quite a good deck. And I'm going to go over the cards that I use because I already put this deck together with these loose cards here, which is a lot. Well, I don't know if it's a lot more, but it's more than it's more than these 3. Maybe not that much though, because that's a decent amount of cards too. So I'm just going to show you the kind of deck that you can build, and basically kind of how to build it. The first thing you do is you separate all your cards into each type. So you put all the action cards together, all the battle action cards. I actually separate these strength modifiers. They're battle actions, but they're strength modifiers. So I separate the battle actions into 2 groups: regular battle actions and battle actions that are strength modifiers. Then your dragon slayers and your reaction cards and your treasure heart and your treasure cards. And your Dragon Lair, you separate the dragons and you separate the terrains. Now you can further break down and separate your dragons by how strong they are, whether they're flyers or subterraneans or scouts in this case. And you can group them all. And then what you do is you go through and you pick the best ones. How many of each type do you want in your deck? So the type of deck that I built here is pretty standard, and I'm just going to go over it. Again, this is we have 2 people of our 4 who have not done this, who have not built decks in this way. So I'm also making this video for them to help them so that they'll have an idea of how to build the decks. And this is also for people who would like to learn how to play Wyvern. This will give you an idea if you should buy a starter deck box like this, which you can get on eBay for under $100, possibly. You could do it. Some are over $100. And you can also buy limited booster packs. A booster box of 36 packs is possible you could get it for under $100. Might be over. But you want to do the limited edition. There are other editions. There's Premier, Kingdom, and there's Phoenix cards and Chameleon cards. All of those cost more. This limited is the one that has an abundance. It is the least resale value. It is the one that collectors are least interested in, so the prices are still reasonably low to get into the game that way. And you don't need Premier or Kingdom cards. You only need limited cards. Phoenix and Chameleon are expansions to the game. So those are different cards, and they are the most expensive cards to buy. So if you got the money, sure, but Chameleon's ridiculously expensive. All right. And then lastly, this is for people who do play Wyvern. I will post this on the Wyvern Facebook page and the Dead CCG Collectors page. If you like playing Wyvern or want to learn, this video is for you as well. So the first thing you want to do is you break down your dragons, and what I've done here is I've chosen to go with 4 scouts. A typical starter deck, you want 3 to 5 scouts normally. Scouts destroy terrains. So if a scout hits this terrain, and all cards start out face down on the table. So you don't know when you attack a face-down card, it could be a terrain or it's going to be a dragon. So if the scout hits the terrain is destroyed. If a non-scout hits the terrain attaches to the dragon, and this is a basic terrain that gives the dragon -1 strength, and you get 2 gold, which is really, really helpful because you will run out of gold very easily in this game. You can run out of gold, I should say you can run out of gold very easily if you're not careful. You have to eventually start swapping out big dragons because you won't be able to afford them. The big dragons are the best to fight with, but you have to pay for those big dragons, and that's where you have to be really careful and learn how to manage your gold, and that's what makes this game so much fun to play too. So the 4 scouts I'm going with here, we've got Keo Lung, who does not fly, but he has a nice ability. So when he hits a terrain, or I'm sorry, when he loses a battle, you get to draw a card. Now he loses a battle, but at least you get a card. This is a flying scout. Flying scouts are always good. You like to have flying dragons because they can fly over 1 row, meaning they can attack. From the front row, they can attack any card. From the back row, they can attack your opponent's front row. So it gives you more versatility, but most dragons in this game are not flying. A decent amount are flying, so you're going to have flying dragons in your deck. Mo-O is a decent scout. He doesn't fly. If he hits a terrain, you get a gold, but you have to pay a gold piece initially. The cost of the dragon is their base strength, 0, plus their gold symbols, any gold symbols. So Keo Lung costs 1, Pan Lung costs 1, Mo-O costs 1, and Amphitheater is free. He has no ability, that's why there's no gold symbol, and he's a flying scout. So he's really good because flying scouts are what you want. If Pan Lung, what does it say, dragons lose 1 strength after any battle, flying dragons. So at least it weakens the dragon if it hits a flying dragon. Then I have this card I had in my pool. This is one that I've chosen to go with. An excellent card. You just leave it, you just let it sit there face down. Eventually they'll attack it, you hope, and then it loses a battle without dying. So it's a 0 strength dragon, but you do have to pay 1 gold for it. Then we have Laidley Worm, which is a small dragon. The dragons will range from 0 to 5 mostly. Dragons of 6 or 7 strength are rare. There is 1 in here because I had a big rare dragon in this pool, so we're going to get to that. But the 4 and 5 strength dragons are your big dragons. The 3 strength dragon is kind of right in the middle, and then 2s are a little weak, and then 1s are weak, and 0s are very weak. So this is a weak dragon, but when she loses a battle, your opponent has to discard a card at random, which is a really good ability, but you have to lose the battle. Sea Crops is a 2 strength flying dragon for 2 gold. That, just right there, good rate. 2 strength flying dragon, 2 gold, totally worth playing. There's another one that doesn't have an ability. This one's ability rarely comes up, as Ravens is a rare card. But on the chance that my opponent opened a Ravens and has it, now they won't be able to play it. And Ravens gives flying dragons plus 2 strength. So if I have a Ravens in my deck, I might not play Sea Crops. I might play the other 2 strength flying dragon, which is called Azidahaka, which I will show you. He's not in the deck right now. Then we have Geets, who's a nice little 2 strength flying dragon for 3 gold. And the reason for the extra gold is because if he wins a battle, I can destroy a treasure in the row of the losing dragon. So if I beat my opponent's dragon, I can destroy a treasure in that row. Very good ability. Mount Chung can be a very annoying dragon. It's a 3 strength dragon for 4, so that's not a great rate. You're paying 4 gold, but his ability, which can really drain you of gold, but he can just cancel the battle. So if you can't win, you can just pay 2 gold and cancel the battle. As long as you have gold, your opponent can't really do anything about it, but there is a card you can bring in out of the sideboard that I'll show you in a second that will prevent this from happening. Then we have Bride Serpent, which is a very good 3 strength dragon for 4 gold with that same ability that Laidley Worm has. But when he wins, is it when? Yeah, it's when he wins a battle. The loser must discard, where Laidley Worm was when Laidley Worm loses the battle. So you're paying more gold for this, but you're hoping to win. You don't expect as often to win with Ladley Worm. You have a better chance to win with a 3-strength dragon than a 1-strength dragon. Gani's another 3-strength dragon for 4 that made the deck because I can protect treasures. So now, as long as he's up in my row, treasures can't be destroyed. Good dragon. Tiamat is a 3-strength flying dragon for 3. If I had a 3-strength dragon for 3 that wasn't flying, that's still a good dragon, but they didn't make this deck because I had enough good cards. But a 3-strength flyer is better, so Tiamat made the deck. I'll show you the 3-strength dragons for 3. They are perfectly playable. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just not as good as a flyer. That's all. But if you ended up with a 3-strength non-flying dragon for 3 gold, it's a good rate. It's a good sized dragon. Here's a 4-strength non-flying dragon for 4 gold. It's a subterranean dragon, which almost certainly will not matter in this tournament. There's a chance. There's a chance that something will come up that will affect subterranean dragons, but I don't have anything in here. Then we have one of the best dragons in the game for the basic game. A 5-strength flying dragon for 5 gold. Very hard dragon to defeat. Can be defeated, but it's hard. But you have to pay 5 gold when you bring him into play. When he enters the battle, you've got to pay 5 gold for him. And if you don't have the money, the dragon takes what you have and leaves. So you lose the battle position and you lose gold. So there's a cost and it's justified. Then we have the 5-strength non-flying dragon, Leviathan, who's also a great dragon. It's just not quite as good as Celestial because he doesn't fly, but an excellent dragon. And then one of the most powerful dragons in the basic game is Behemoth. He is the biggest dragon in the game, 7 strength, and he flies. Absolutely deadly, but you lose 7 gold. You have to pay 7 gold to get him in play. And you start the game with 25 gold. And when you run out of gold, there are ways to get gold, like the terrains that I mentioned, but when you run out of gold, you can't pay for these things, and you've got to swap them out. And I don't know if we'll get into that today, but we'll see. So terrains, I'm running 8. I decided to go with 8 terrains. I think there's 23 or 24 cards in this deck, minimum 20. It's perfectly fine to run extra cards like that. You can run 20 if you want to, but if you have 20, I'd even be willing to play as many as 30 if I had enough cards that I wanted to play. It's not that important in a basic game. In a constructed game, you tend to be less likely to add more than 20. You tend to try to keep it at 20. So we have lake, ocean. These are exactly the same terrains. They're basic terrains. They all do the same thing. And then we have ones that are uncommon cards, cliff and mountain. The only difference here is you only get 1 gold, but they are a -2 strength modifier. So the dragon is now 2 strength weaker. So that's a significant difference. It's twice as deadly, basically. So you only get 1 gold. Abbey is excellent if we are playing cards like Golden Apple and Fountain of Youth, because the dragon can't survive, and golden apples and fountains of youth, you survive even though you lost. You can't play them on the dragon that has Abbey attached. And we probably are going to play some golden apples and fountains of youth. If we aren't going to, then I would not put this in my deck. We are going to decide certain rules. There's going to be certain card changes, and we will decide how to play those. And we have a rule that I'm going to explain right now. I have 2 killer terrains in the deck. This terrain will destroy any dragon of 3 or less strength that hits it, and this terrain, any dragon of 4 or more strength that hits it. So I have the ability to kill any dragon in this game if they hit the terrain, but the right one has to hit it. If a dragon hits this terrain and it's 4 or more strength, in the original rules, the terrain would be destroyed. I changed that because I don't like that non-scouts can destroy terrains. Not only that, it makes playing this card risky, because if the dragon doesn't apply, the terrain is destroyed. I think what is a better rule, and so far everyone has agreed with me, is that if the dragon hits the terrain and it doesn't apply, nothing happens and the terrain is swapped out. So you lose the terrain, but it's swapped out. You don't lose the battle position, and that's the end of the turn. So effectively, nothing happened, but you did lose it. So we have one pit, one frozen lake. I had another one that I could have put in this deck. I chose to just start with one. And then this card is very deadly too, but if a non-flying dragon hits it, it'll get swapped out. But if a flying dragon hits it, you steal their dragon. That's very, very powerful ability. So you always put this in the back row. You should never put island in the front row because a non-flying dragon can now hit it. They can't hit it in the back row. So that's just the thing about that. All right, so that's my dragon lair that I built. And let me go over some of the cards that I could put in or didn't make the deck. Let me see, is that everything? Yeah. We won't bother with these. These are just more that I didn't even consider. But the ones that almost made the deck, I have Chimera, who can attack as a 1-strength dragon. It's a scout, so he costs 1 gold. It's decent scout. All scouts are worth playing. This guy's free. He doesn't fly, but he's free. So I could play him instead of Mo-O if I wanted to try to save money. If I'm really tight on gold, we're going to play best of 3. I could bring this one in, take Mo-O out. Now Mo-O could get me gold, but he's got to hit 2 terrains to get gold. If you go back and look at this, see the first terrain you hit, you're going to get a gold piece, but you had to pay a gold piece to attack with him. So it's a wash unless you hit a second one. If you hit a second one, sure. But usually the scout dies after they attack. Usually your opponent's going to try to kill them. Lambton Worm we're probably not going to play. There's 2 options here. We can decide, sure, let's play, because you can only use 1 dragon. You can use up to 4 of any type of terrain. 1 of any type of dragon. So you only can play 1, so maybe we'll play Lambton Worm, but the ability is annoying, and it's a little bit ridiculous of an ability. The other option is that we will add 2 gold symbols to the card so that you have to pay 2 more gold to do this ability. That would make more sense to me, but you're going to need a 3 out of 4 majority vote on all of these rule changes. We are absolutely doing the new terrain rule. We've always done that. But this will be an option that I'm going to run by them and see what they want to do. This is a good dragon. He's a 3-strength super flying dragon for 4 gold. He almost made my deck, and I can always put him in if I wanted more flyers. But a super flyer can attack any card, even from the back row. A normal flyer can only attack the front row from your back row, and he has to move up to your front row to hit any card of your opponent's. This guy can hit any card anytime. Doesn't matter. Kakutan is a good dragon. He only costs 3. So you get a 3-strength dragon for 3, and he defends at strength 4 from face down, but he attacks at 2 strength from face down. So once he's up, he's a 3. So you just sit there on defense and wait until somebody attacks and he's a 4, and then you don't have to worry about attacking from face down because you're just not going to. So he really is a good dragon. He's a 3-strength dragon who the first time your opponent attacks, it's a 4-strength dragon for 3, and that's a really good rate. So if I was going to add 1 more dragon or take something out, Kakutan would be the one to go with. I could go with 3 scouts, but I would go with 4. I usually try to run 4. Then we have Gandarua, who he's a 2-strength dragon, so he only costs 2. He attacks at 4 strength from face down, but 0 strength from face up. So once he's up, he attacks as a 0 and defends as a 2. So you'd have to find a way to turn him back down. And there are cards that can turn him back down, and then you can just keep attacking as a 4-strength dragon for free, because you only pay for dragons 1 time. So Gandarua can be a very good dragon. Then here's Azidahaka, the 2-strength flyer for 2, which is an excellent dragon. It's an excellent rate. He's got the flying ability. He's not a big dragon, though. So he's not hard to defeat, but he's decent, and with the right cards in your hand, he can beat a big dragon. I mean, little dragons can beat big dragons. It's just harder. it's easier for big dragons to win. So here's Sean, a 1-strength flying dragon, very little dragon, but if he loses a battle, you draw a card. Just like the scout, Keolung, I could add Sean for more card draw if I felt I needed to, especially if I'm running Golden Apples and Fountains of Youth. I can save him. He can lose the battle but not die, and then I get a card, and then I've still got him. So he's a potential. Lotan can be a great dragon, and he can also totally blow up in your face. If your opponent hits him, attacks him, and your opponent's dragon is a 3 strength or more, you lose the battle. Nobody can play battle action cards. But if your opponent has a 3 strength dragon or less, all you got to do is attack with Lotan and you win the battle. There's nothing that he just automatically wins, and that's great because you could take something out. Now the question is, can your opponent get him? Because he doesn't fly, he's going to be in the front row, and all your opponent has to do is attack with a 3 or better dragon to take him out. But if you can kill one of their dragons and then they kill Lotan, you take that trade, if it's something that you really want to kill. There are some really good 3-strength dragons out there that Lotan just destroys. So potentially a very good dragon, but cannot be good. I would side him in if I feel like there's a 3-strength dragon or a 2-strength dragon that I just don't want to mess with because there's a problem there. They're powerful, their ability is good. Like here's a guy with an ability that could really be bad. So here's a 3-strength flying for 4 gold, and when he is one of the 2 dragons starting the battle, no help is allowed. So if I've got help cards, and help cards allow you to fight with 2 dragons or even 3 dragons, the only risk when you use help is if you still lose the battle, all your dragons die. But the problem is, or I should say the advantage to help, is that it's really hard to beat 2 dragons in a battle. And Ilyanka says you can't use any help. So if I've got help cards and or abilities to bring in help, and this dragon I end up hitting this dragon, on my next turn, I'm hoping I can have Lotan around and take this guy out because there's no battle. Because ties go to the attacker. So the score is 3-3. I'm winning, and nobody can play battle actions. The battle ends. Unless there's something on the table that allows for help, but no help's allowed here, so it won't matter. That would be a dragon that I'd want to take out with Lotan. Here's another one that I might want to take out with Lotan. Naga is now it doesn't say here, they left off the base strength. The base strength is 3. So this is a 3-strength dragon for 4 gold. He attacks at 6 strength from face down, but 0 from face up. So if you can keep turning him down, he's amazing. The 6-strength dragon for 4 is deadly. But Lotan can just attack, because when he defends, he's a 3, and Lotan just kills him. And that's the end of that. Even if he's face down. If you know that's Naga, you attack, he defends at 3, and Lotan just takes him out. So there's some dragons right there. Echidna has a decent ability. 3-strength dragon for 4. If she wins the battle, you can turn a dragon face down. So that's something that you use in tandem with different things. Pakwajak is just a 2-strength dragon, but he only costs 2 gold. And if your opponent is playing multiple fire-breathing cards, I would bring this card in, possibly, depending on how big their dragons are, and then they can't use their fire-breathing. Now, if I have fire-breathing, which in this deck I do, I would take out my fire-breathing cards or take out like most of them because it's just one dragon. Yeah, it might not even come up. And then there's Fafnir, which is the same as Pakwajak, but you can't use Dwarven armies. So again, these are good dragons that you can sideboard in. If your opponent is using Dwarven armies, you might do this if you're not using Dwarven armies. Then we have another Frozen Lake, if I want to bring it in. And here's another one that only works against certain dragons that I could bring in. If I see a lot of flyers, this terrain only affects flyers. So if I'm like, man, I saw it like 4 flyers in game 1, I'm going to bring this in and just add it to my thing because -2 and I get 2 gold. That's great. If my opponent is playing multiple subterranean dragons, I'll bring this in. -2, 2 gold, only applies to subterranean dragons. Very few subterranean dragons in this game. So you should never start this deck. you should never start this card. So here's our basic 3-strength dragon for 3. We have Tarask, and we have Apep, who's a subterranean dragon. I could bring in either one of these. I could take out my bigger dragons if I'm running. If I run out of gold in game 1 and it was really hard to pay for everything and I just ran out of gold, I could take out those 5-strength dragons and bring these guys in, which will cost less. The problem is it's harder to win. It's easier to win with a 5-strength dragon than a 3. But these are good, solid dragons for your basic game. All right, so those are the dragons. Now we'll go over the treasure hoard. Now, this is a rare card, and I just happen to have 2 in this pile of loose cards. Turn the tables. You decide which card of yours gets attacked this turn. Opponent must attack if possible. So if you know they don't have a scout and you've got a terrain, you can force them to attack your terrain. Now, they don't know it's a terrain. They don't know what they're running into. You could take a chance and hope they don't have a scout. You could also force them to attack your big dragon because you want them to attack your big dragon. It's a very good card that can be very effective. Treasure Thief can be great. If my opponent has 2 or more treasures in play and I have 1 or 0, blow them all up. Everything's destroyed. Except if Gani's up, you can't destroy the treasures in the row with Gani. So if I have Gani up, pretty sure this takes out all treasures except mine where Gani is protecting them. So Treasure Thief can be excellent, which is why it costs 2 gold. 2 gold is expensive. 1 gold usually means this is a good card, so you have to pay a gold in addition to the fact that you're paying a card. So Marduk is a great card because no battle actions can be played. Just like Lotan's ability, no battle actions can be played. So you play this in the action phase, and then you attack if you know you're going to be winning. You can risk it and attack blind. One of my friends who will be in the tournament likes to do that. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. And I'm like, well, you took the risk. I almost never would take the risk. I like only using Marduk when I know I'm going to win the battle. There are ways around that, but in the basic game, I don't think there's much you can do about it. Meteor Shower is just a great card. It's a common card. Everybody discards their hand and draws 5 cards. Best time to do this is when you have less cards than your opponent, but sometimes you're just going to do it because you want 5 cards, even though you're going to give your opponent 5 cards. Like if we both have 2 cards in hand or 1, I might do it even though my opponent's going to get 5. I might not. I might go, yeah, I don't want to give him cards. So there's 2 of those. And then we have 1 Volcanic Eruption. Now in the constructed game, this card was limited to 1 copy. Originally you could run 4, and it became very manipulative in the game, so they reduced it to only 1. But in a basic game like we're playing, you can put as many as you want in the deck. It is expensive though. To get any card back costs you 2 gold. So it can be a great card, but it can really help you. You could really run out of gold fast when you keep playing these expensive cards. Now here's a very nice card. For every one of your dragons you turn face up, draw 1 card from your treasure hoard draw pile. You can literally turn up all your dragons. They're not attacking. This is in the action phase, and you just turn up whatever you want to turn up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, doesn't matter. And you get a card for every one, but you got to pay for the dragons. If you have 6 dragons and you turn them all up, you're probably not going to have much gold left. That'll probably take all your gold. This is good to do 1 or 2 dragons just to draw the cards, but now your opponent sees what those cards are. He knows that they're dragons. So you are giving them information, but you're drawing a card. So Tsunami can be a very effective card, but I'm only running 1. I could run 2. I decided to just go with 1. This is another card that can be somewhat weak, but it can be effective, especially if you use it on your opponent's cards. You look at their top 5 and put them back in any order, or you shuffle because you don't like those 5 cards, or you do it with your top 5 cards. Same thing. And it just helps to make your opponent's draws worse or to make your draws better. But you do lose the card. You don't get a card back. So you are down a card. But it can be useful. And I really like the idea of Crystal Ball. Then we have Gold Thief. Now, this is one of the other rule changes that we are already using. This says, take 1 gold piece from any player's gold mine. We changed it to, and take 1 gold piece from the gold mine. So I take 1 from my opponent's gold pile. If I said mine, I misspoke. So I take 1 from them, and I take 1 from the gold mine. This is going to get me 2 gold, making this a much better card, because 2 gold is way better than 1. And 1, it just didn't ever seem very worth playing. Now it's going to be a more interesting card, and I put 3 in my deck because I want gold. Gold is so important in this game. So I was going to run 3. Then I was going to run 1 gold find in addition. Now the problem with gold find is my opponent gets 2 gold. But we've decided, let's make the gold give you 3. Instead of 2 and 2, it's 3 and 2. Gold Find becomes a much better card. These have played really well since we've made these rule changes. I really, really like playing these cards now. I like them more. Let's just put it that way. Heat Wave appears to be a weak card, and in one sense it is. Sometimes this card's not going to do anything for you. But if your opponent has, let's say, a 4-strength dragon, you can play this card. Now it's a 3, and now you can attack, and they're down to strength. You have a better chance to kill their dragon. You have to spend a card to do that, but it's worth it if it's the difference. But you still might lose the battle. But a really good way to use Heat Wave is we have dragon slayers in this game can slay dragons of 0 or less, 2 or less strength, 3 or less strength, and that's it. There is a rare card that can slay any dragon. They're probably not going to have that. There is a dragon slayer that can slay any flying dragon, so that can take out a really big flying dragon. It can just slay it. And there's one that can slay subterranean dragons, but you always side that card in. You never start with the dragon slayer that slays subterranean. So if I have the dragon slayer Sir Lancelot that can slay any dragons of 3 or less strength, and my opponent has a 4-strength dragon on the table, turned up, now he's a 3, then I slay him. And that is a really good way of using Heat Wave. It's a very effective way to make this card really good. Now this is another one of the rares that would just happen to be in this pile of cards. It's one of the best cards in the game. The updated rule says it affects the base strength. You switch the base strengths of the dragon, which is the strength printed on the card. The strength printed is their base strength. Their strength, which is referred to as their current strength, is whatever it happens to be in that moment. Like if my opponent gave the dragon +2 strength, then that's his current strength. And I think under the original rules, you just switched whatever the current strength was. We could play that. We're gonna go over that. Do we want to play the updated rule of base strength switch, or do we want current strength switch? We can do it either way. The cards are not going to say base strength, and this is the other one that will not say base strength. Both of these were updated to say base strength. Notice these cards both cost 2 gold. That's because they're powerful. These are rare cards. If you open them, you play them. These are some of the best cards in the game. Base strength makes more sense, but current strength in a basic tournament could be fun. If they want to do it, if 3 out of 4 of us say, yeah, let's do current strength, then we're doing current strength. I'm not sure. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, so I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it. I might want to try it just to do it, since all these cards are only the kingdom cards say base strength, I think, and we won't have any kingdom cards. This is a great card. Costs you 1 gold. It used to cost 0. They realized how good this card is, so it was updated to 1 gold. And I like that about this card game, that they would update their cards and fix them, change them. So in a battle, you can just pay 1 gold and draw 2 cards. That is a great card to have in your deck. Fortunately, I had one, so that's in the deck. And here's the help card. I was talking about getting help. 1 gold, because it's a good card. It's not 2 gold, because if you lose the battle, you lose both dragons. But it is a good card because it's harder to kill them. It's harder to kill you now. You have 2 dragons fighting for you. So just 1 copy. I could go with 2. I rarely will go with more than that initially. It depends. I can always side in more. This is a great card to play because if you're losing the battle, you can just cancel the battle. And that's the end of the battle. You don't die. So I'm running 2 of those, and it's free, of course. There's no gold cost to it because you're just canceling the battle. That's why it's free. But it's a really good card. There are ways to prevent this from happening. There's a card that says you can't cancel the battle. I'm going to show you that in the sideboard. And so here's Knight and Mount Chung can cancel the battle. This is a wonderful card in the game. It doesn't always work, but there's a reason for the 1 gold cost. You may add the strength of any face-up dragon on the table to this battle. The dragon cannot be one that is currently in the battle. And then they added on the card that dragon that you just possessed, that dragon's base strength is effectively 0 for the rest of the battle. And the reason they did that is so that if you had a second possession spell, and I am running 2, you can't possess that dragon again. So they changed it to now that dragon that you possessed is base 0 because it's not in the battle. You've just taken that strength and added it to your dragon. We could leave it like this so you can possess it a second time if we want to. That'll be another rule thing that we will vote on. This is a card that we are going to vote on. How do we want to play Golden Apples? And the reason we're going to vote on this is Golden Apples and Fountains of Youth stall the game. They prolong the game. We could say 0, you can play 0 copies, 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies, or whatever you get. Because in this kind of a tournament, if you open 5 copies of a card, you can put all 5 in. If you open 7, 8 copies of a certain card, you can put all of them in your starter deck. So the question is, do we want to limit Golden Apples, or do we want to say 0? Do we want to, or what? And that will be something that we will pick. We will decide on. I decided for now, if I was going to do a tournament, that we would limit it to 2 copies. I think 2 copies is decent, but I'm fine with whatever the majority wants to do. Then we have our Dragon Slayers. So this little guy is free, and he can slay 0 or less strength dragons, which is great. All the scouts, and there are 0 strength dragons. There's one in my deck, that one that can't die. Well, Beowulf will just kill him. But he has to be face up to slay the dragon. If the dragon's face down, you can't slay it. You don't even if you know it's a dragon, you can't attack it with a Dragon Slayer. It has to be face up. So just 1, because he only slays 0 strength dragons. And by the way, Heat Wave would make a 1 strength dragon 0. So that's another. This Heat Wave works in tandem with any of these Dragon Slayers. So for 1 gold, you can play Sigurd, and he can slay a dragon of 2 or less strength. It's an excellent, excellent card. He only slays the little dragons, but, Heat Wave makes that dragon, can lower that dragon's strength. I could run 2 or 3 Heat Waves in my starting deck, but I would side them in if I see that it would really make a difference. Based on how the game goes will determine what cards I side in. So 2 copies of Sigurd, and then the best Dragon Slayer in the game, other than Jason. Jason can slay any dragon. Jason costs 3 gold. That's why he can slay any dragon. So I'm running 3. I would run 8 of these if I had 8 of them. It's the best Dragon Slayer for the basic game because it can take out most dragons. And then, of course, Cadmus can take out any flying dragon, which is great, but there aren't as many flying dragons. So I'm starting with 1 Cadmus. That's my choice. I could go 2. I would not go more than that. And then I would side in more if I want to bring in more. I'm like, if I'm seeing my opponent's got flying dragons, for game 2, I'll bring in some, and I might take other cards out. You can bring in cards or you can swap out cards. It's totally up to you. If my opponent is playing a lot of treasures, I'm going to bring in more St. George. St. George for free, you destroy their treasure. I'm running 1 for now in the start because most people play treasures. So I'm probably going to have a target. But it might be a card that I don't care about. So I start with 1. If I see multiple treasures that I want to destroy, I'll bring in a second St. George, possibly even a third. And then all these cards are strength modifiers. So the Dwarven armies, like the card Fafnir, you can't use these in battle with Fafnir. I only have 1 in these loose cards. And I had a whole bunch of fire breathing, but I decided to just go with 3. I think I had 5. which they're fine. They're just +1 strength, but that +1 strength can win you a battle. They're not great, but they're good. They're fine. This is the best one. It's +2 for 1 gold. I would run 8 of these if I had 8 of them. I wouldn't run these. I would run this over this unless I can't afford the gold, and I've got to lower the gold cost. But 1 gold for +2 is double what you're paying for it. The next one up is Firebolt, 2 gold for +3. It's still really good, but 2 gold is a lot. That's an expensive card, and it's not 2 gold for +4. If it was 2 gold for +4, that would be the equivalent of 1 gold for +2. So it's not as good, but it is as good. It's better because it's +3. You get a +3 bonus. This will swing a battle. You could beat a big dragon if you've got this in your hand. The problem is you're going to run out of gold if you play too many of these. I have 2 in my starting deck. I could go with 3, but it's expensive. But then we have Fireball. So now you're paying 3 gold for 4. That's not a good rate. That's very expensive. You will run out of gold. You can't play too many of these. I've started with 2, which is risky. Very risky. So you have to be careful with these. I will take them out. If I run out of gold in the first game, I would take both of these out because I just can't afford them. I'm running out of gold too easily. It just depends on how the game goes and how well I am at managing my gold. Now, my opponent is almost certainly going to play Dragon Slayers, so you have to play Marina. Marina counters the Dragon Slayer. It's a great card in the basic game. Running 3 copies. I want to be able to counter those dragons. Also, my opponent is almost certainly going to be playing strength modifiers because in the basic game, strength modifiers are your best way of winning battles, and armor counters the strength modifiers. Now, if my opponent is constantly countering my strength modifiers with armor, do I take out some of those strength modifiers? Because when you pay 3 gold, get +4, and they play 0 gold and counter your card, you lose that 3 gold. That's a big drain. So that's another reason you might take out those fireballs. If your opponent has multiple armors and is just stopping your strength modifiers, there's no point. You gotta fight a different way. And one of the ways you fight is help and possession spell. And if you get those rare cards like Power Switch and Medea's Spell. All right, lastly, our treasures. So now this deck had something like 56 cards in it. Has to have at least 50. So I have extra cards in here, and I can always go down to 50 if I felt that I needed to. This is a very powerful card, but it's also really expensive at 3 gold. But all my dragons get +2 when attacking. So my 1 strength dragons are 3, my 2 strength dragons are 4, my scouts are 2. It's really, that 7 strength dragon would be a 9. That's ridiculous because it's very hard to beat a dragon when you're behind in the basic game. That's what the game is. Out battle your opponent dragon. Get the highest strength. That's why Medea's Spell is so powerful. If we're doing current strength, it just knocks it back to 0. So we might do that. We'll see. Pearl is a really good treasure. Every time a dragon in this row wins a battle, you get a card. That's a really good treasure. So I gotta play 1. I might add a second one if I have it in my sideboard. If I open 2 pearls, I'm either going to play 1 or both or one on the side. This is one of the best treasures in the game for the basic game. There is a constructed deck that uses this. It's the help deck, and I have a video about that deck. If you would like to watch it, it's in my playlist of Wyvern Deck Tech. I forget how I named the playlist. There's 2 Wyvern playlists. One is of us playing the game, and the other is my decks or whatever videos I'm making of it. But this costs 2 gold because it's really powerful. It's very hard to beat your opponent when they can fight you with 2 dragons. But if you can get them, you kill 2 dragons at once. So Magic Potion, just 1 because of the gold cost. I could go with 2, but it's risky. This is also a really good treasure. Being able to say, dragons in my row, you cannot slay them. The Dragon Slayer can take out the Maiden in Distress, but that's good. At least I stopped for 1 Dragon Slayer. So it's a very good treasure. It's only in the row, but you could, if you have 2, you could put 2 in your deck. You could even put 3 in your deck because, you're going to, if they get it destroyed, you can play another one. This is also a great treasure for the basic game. Being able to steal your opponent's treasure is great. That's why it costs 2 gold. Another expensive card, and you just steal their treasure. It can be very, very powerful. This card can also be very powerful, but you will run out of gold if you're not careful. Pay a gold piece, draw a card. Pay another gold piece, draw another card. You can just keep doing this as often as you want. So if you've got the gold, you're probably going to win because that's just powerful. I could even run 2 of these if I have 2. It's just a very, very dangerous card, but you can run out of gold, and that'll blow up in your face. And then this is also one of the best treasures in the game. The dragon survives, even though they lost, they don't die, and you discard the Fountain of Youth. So they drink from the fountain goes away, and your dragon lives to fight another day. We might not allow this card along with golden apples. We're going to vote on it. I think it's going to be 0 or 2. I think that's where we're going to go, but we'll see. All right. So, sideboard. Possible sideboard cards. If I didn't run out of gold and I felt I could play more fireballs, I'll bring them in. If I need more dragon slayers, again, this is whatever's in your sideboard, all the extra cards. Do I want more dragon slayers? Do I think that they'll work? Did my other dragon slayers work? Did they not play Marina? It could be that they just didn't have Marina in their hand. But if I think I need another Beowulf or another Sigurd or what other dragon slayers I have, here's another St. George. If I see a couple of subterranean dragons, I might bring in Thor and just try to slay them. I might bring 1 copy in. If I see more flyers, I'll bring in another Cadmus, depending. And then if they're canceling the battle with Mount Chung or they're playing knights, I can counter them with Ra. This battle can't be countered, can't be canceled, and it just stops it. So it's not a good card. It's no good unless your opponent is canceling battles. So don't put this in your starting deck. Same with Catch a Thief. It's no good. It'll just sit in your hand and do nothing. But if your opponent is playing Treasure Thief or Gold Thief or both, oh yeah, bring in 1 copy, maybe bring in 2 copies. If they're playing a lot of Dragon Slayers, bring in another Marina or 2. It's up to you if you have them. If you might have, you might only have 1 more in your sideboard. It's whatever you have. Same with armor. Do I want more armor or less armor? Do I want more knight? That could be another good thing to bring in. If I'm really struggling for gold, sacrifice is a great way to get more gold. This is a perfectly good card to play in your starting deck. I could run 1 in the starter deck, start with, or 2. But I don't necessarily need it, so I decided I'm going to start with it in my sideboard, bring it in if I feel it will help me. It's really good. Now, if you're playing golden apples and Fountains of Youth, oh yeah, because they have to pay you 2 gold and your dragon didn't die. You lose the battle, they have to pay you 2 gold. Then it's really good. So I could bring in 1 or 2 copies of those, or 3 if I have them. Battle Chaos is potentially very powerful and potentially very dangerous. Everybody can bring in as many dragons as they want, and whoever loses the battle loses all their dragons. Very risky card. So I don't start with it. I have to get a feel to, do I want to, because you're probably going to open 1 or more of these cards. Do I want to bring it in? Do I want to bring in more help cards? That's an option. If my opponent is playing lots of flyers, I will bring in hailstorms. It'll lower the strength by 2 for 1 gold. That's just like Magical Sword. 1 gold minus 2 strength, where Magical Sword is 1 gold plus 2 strength. This card is excellent against flyers. If my opponent is playing lots of fire breathing, I could bring this card in. I don't think I will, unless I see like 4 or 5 copies. Then I might. I might bring this in just to say enough of those fire breathing cards. And if they're playing a lot of Dwarven armies, I could bring in Flood. You're going to have these in your starter decks. They're going to come up. So you're going to have them in your sideboard to play. Then we have this odd card. I have no clue why this card costs 2 gold. If anyone anyone can tell me why that cost is justified, please let me know. I'm shocked this wasn't reduced to 1 gold. I would also attach this card to the dragon so that it's permanent while attached. Maybe that's too powerful. Maybe then you have to leave it at 2 gold. Like if it attaches, then it's worth it. Because this just says they can't attack for 1 turn. So I paid 2 gold and said, you can't attack that dragon. They go, okay, I won't attack. And then that's the end of that. You just blew 2 gold. I've never played this card. But I can see where it could be effective, especially if my opponent is down to 1 dragon and I do this, and now they have to swap that dragon out, and they don't want to swap that dragon out because then they might be low on gold, and the next dragon they're going to have to pay for. So I could see this working in certain situations, but it's so limited. I would attach it to the dragon. That's just what I would do. Or add, you have to pay 2 gold to attack it. If you want to attack it, it's going to cost you 2 gold, something like that. But then I would lower this maybe to 1 gold. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But as it is, I don't like the card. Subterranean River can be a very good card. It doesn't look like it, but this card won me a tournament. I put this on my 5-strength Celestial Flying Dragon and sat in the back row, and he had nowhere he could hide. He couldn't putting his dragon or whatever in the back row, putting his dragons to protect. I could just keep attacking. So he had to keep swapping out, hoping he'd get a terrain. And then eventually I would swap out, and I'd get a scout, and I'd attack that face-down card. So this is very neat. It makes your dragon subterranean, and then they can attack any card. They're just like a super flyer. Subterranean tunnels will give subterranean dragons this ability too. You don't you could put this on a subterranean dragon just so you can attack anywhere. So it's potentially very good. If I'm doing just fine on gold and my opponent is struggling, I could bring in gold shortage. Let's both lose 2 gold. We both lose 2. That this wording doesn't change. Gold shortage can be a very good card. Magical healing can be a very good card. If I'm hitting my opponent's terrains, or my opponent is attaching cards that weaken my dragon. Poison Breathing is a card that we might attach. It gives the dragon -1 strength, or we might just put a -1 counter and mark it. Seaweed is a card that I think should attach to the dragon. Magical Healing will get rid of anything that weakens the dragon. If my dragon has 4 terrains on it, and they all weaken the dragon, Magical Healing removes all 4 cards. That's great. The problem is this will usually sit in your hand and do nothing, and you're going to say, why did I put this in my starting deck? Only bring it in if you think it will be effective. If my opponent is running help, I am absolutely bringing in Gully. 1 or 2 copies of Gully. If I feel like I've got to get more gold, I need more gold, there are more gold finds. There you go. Bring them in, whatever you need. If my opponent has cards that I need to get rid of that they're on my dragon, I can either go with Magical Healing or I can go with Village. The thing about Village is it gets rid of any card. Magical Healing only gets rid of cards that weaken your dragon. Village gets rid of any card. But again, this will sit in your hand and do nothing for you. I wouldn't start with 1. Maybe 1. Maybe you start with 1 because it will get rid of any terrain that's attached to your dragon. So it can be an effective card. If I need, for some reason, to turn my dragons down, like if I'm playing that card Naga that attacks from face down better, I would play Avalanche if I'm going to use those cards that attack it face down or are better when they're face down. I'd absolutely play 1 or 2 Avalanche. But normally this is not a good card. And here's the Seaweed card that I talked about. I would make this card free. This is the rule change that I'm going to suggest and see what they say. And that it attaches to the dragon. The Seaweed is on the dragon. It is now -1 as long as the Seaweed remains. Now it's a playable card in my opinion. As it is, in my opinion, this is one of the weakest cards and poorest designed cards. I'm going to spend 1 gold to give -1 strength for 1 turn. The only reason I would do that is if I could then slay the dragon. Or know that I was going to beat it in battle. It's just not a very good card. City is not a very good card. I would make this card free. This is going to be another rule change that we will vote on. I think this card should be free. It turns down a dragon. That's all it does. Well, that can be good because when you turn the dragon down, they can't be slain. So people might say, no, leave it at 1 gold. We'll see. We'll see where people vote. but I would change it to 0. If I want to try to drain my opponent of more gold, I'll bring in Poisonous Air. Potential. I wouldn't start with it, but it's potential. If I want to destroy my opponent's treasures, I'll bring in another Treasure Thief if I think it'll help me. But I'm playing quite a lot of treasures, so that probably won't happen. Or maybe I'll take out some of my treasures and bring in Treasure Thief because I really want to destroy their treasures. I can bring in more Heat Waves for what I've already gone over, so we can bring in more of those. And if my opponent is attacking with a lot of scouts and hitting my terrains or whatever, and I just want to slow that attack down, I could bring in Zeus. It's not a very good card, but someone actually played this against me at Gen Con in a tournament because he was playing a terrain deck. And it was wild. He played Zeus, and I'm like, oh, I can't attack with a scout. It's not a good card, but if you need to slow down your opponent's scouts from attacking, it's good. This is a very good sideboard card. The problem with this card, do not put this in your main deck unless you know your opponent has the way to make them immune to Dragon Slayers. And you really won't know that until game 2. Maiden in Distress, I think, you play this on a dragon that's immune to Dragon Slayers. There are dragons in the game that are immune to Dragon Slayers. They're all rare, though, so you probably won't see them. You might see them, though, because we're going to open up 3 of these and 3 of these. There's 2 rares in each of these decks, so that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 rares. Somebody might open a dragon that's immune to Dragon Slayers. Absolutely bring this in. This is just really good. Martha Bethany's another way you can make your dragons immune to Dragon Slayers. I would cite it in if I needed to. That's why it costs a gold. It makes them immune to Dragon Slayers. And Hercules also costs a gold for the same reason. It's potentially a very good card. Knowledge is free because all it does is let you look at their hand, which isn't very good in and of itself. But I'm not opposed to running 1 in my starter deck. I don't think I'd run more than 1, but maybe I would bring in a second one if I needed to. Same with Crystal Ball. Do I want more of this? Do I want to be able to manipulate my opponent's deck more or my deck more? This card you only bring in if your opponent is running multiple St. Georges and they're taking out treasures that you don't want them to take out. The problem is now you have to play Princess Libya so that St. George can only take out Princess Libya. It's a very niche card. So, but you could cite it in. It's possible. If I want my terrains to be better for some reason, this will make my terrains better. It's a signal to my opponent that I'm got terrains, but most starter decks have terrains. You're going to have a mix. Mostly dragons usually. But Shipwreck can be something that you could cite in. Jewels is if I feel like I would do, it's worth it to me to spend the 2 gold so that I get +1 when defending. If I feel that would be a significant difference, I'll bring in Jewels. And if I want +1 when attacking, I'll bring in Sword. But I'm already playing Golden Fleece, which is +2 when attacking. But who knows? It's a potential. If I want more Pearl, I can bring in more Pearls. This is if I want to turn those dragons down. This is the best card for turning dragons down because this one card can turn down a dragon every turn, which is why it costs 1 gold and isn't free. So Cauldron is good if you want to turn them down. You want to turn them down because they're better at face down or your opponent is slaying your dragons. And then you bring this in to make it really hard for them to slay your dragons because your dragons will always be face down and they won't be able to slay them. Do I want another Maiden in Distress so that they can't be killed by Dragon Slayers? Maybe. Do I want to be able to turn my non-flying dragon into a flying dragon for some reason? Would that benefit me? I'll bring in a Magic Wand. I think Magic Wand should be free. We'll vote on that. We can leave it at 1 gold or we'll make it free. I think it should be free. Do I want more gold? Do I need more gold? Well, bring in gold. Bring in 1, bring in 2. If you lose a battle, you're losing battles. Bring in Treasure Room. At least you get a gold. Good sideboards. Is your opponent running killer terrains? Did they open some killer terrains? Then you bring in Golden Apples. Never start with this in your starting deck. So those are just some of the ideas for how you can sideboard and make this tournament a lot of fun. When you have a Wyvern tournament and you are playing sideboard, you are playing best of 3. It is so much fun because in the second game, the game's going to be a little different. Your opponent's brought in cards. You don't know what changes they've made. They might have taken out cards that they think, I don't need this card against that deck, you know. So it's a lot of fun to do. And there's a point system where you can play to 100 points. There's different ways you can play this game. You can change the number of battle positions that you start with. It starts with 6. You can go 5 or 4 or 3, or you could even go 7 or 8 if you want long games. But I highly recommend that you look into this game. If you are looking for a game that's fun to play with family and friends, this is the card game to get into, because limited will not hurt you financially very much. $100, 80 to $100, you can get 12 starter decks for around $80 to $100 on eBay, and you can buy a booster packs, 36 packs of limited booster packs. I think that's 15 cards in each one. I forget how many are in here. I think it's 15. Opening booster packs is just a blast. This is so much fun, and you get a 1 rare per pack, and it's just fun. And then you can build decks. You can probably even do a draft. I know you can do sealed. You just open up a number of packs and you build a deck. There'll be smaller decks. They'll be 1535 would be your minimum. 1535. You can do that where you do smaller decks. So hope you enjoyed the video. If we hold this tournament, I'm hoping to hold it later this month. We got to get the other all three people together, all 4 of us together. It'll be at my place or my friend's place. We don't know yet. We're just going to try. I'll definitely try to make a video of our tournament. Don't know how good it'll be. Not certain that I'll make it, but I'm going to try. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you check this out. Oh, and one last thing. Dragon Hunt is a wonderful, simplified version of the game. The backs are different. The backs are not this. There are different backs. This is a non-collectible card game. There's a set number of cards in here, and you can play like this game. It's easier to play. It's a simplified version, and it's non-collectible. This is it. These are all the cards you use. You can buy these on eBay at very reasonable price. It's not expensive. The cards look the same on the front. They look different on the back. I'll just let you see a little bit of what it said. Well, wait, is there a better one? Yeah, there we go. Note, do not shuffle before playing the sample game. They even give you a sample game that you can play, and it'll teach you. This is really fun. Dragon Hunt is highly recommend. This is a great way to start to learn the basics of Wyvern, and it's so much fun to play. So there you go. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.